Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 568 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes& Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, it's great that all of our listeners are heavily involved on their college campus in terms of their fraternity or sorority, their school, their jobs, their internships, their clubs, and all kinds of other time commitments. That is a double-edged sword, though, as you also sometimes have trouble saying no. Today, we are going to talk a little bit more about wellness and purpose and ensuring that you are honoring yourself in this journey. Karima McKenzie is a certified educator with 22 years of experience, and she has had the privilege of inspiring thousands as a math teacher, coach, and administrator. Her journey hasn't been without its challenges. After battling burnout, anxiety, depression, and coming dangerously close to suicide, she found her purpose. Those struggles became the catalyst for writing her book. It's called Temples Are Sacred, and So Are You, a guide to helping others honor themselves and reclaim their self-worth. She helps individuals and organizations to develop self-awareness, overcome anxiety and emotional challenges, and become the best version of themselves. Her workshops, courses, and books combine holistic practices with actionable steps to create a life of purpose, balance, and clarity. Welcome to the show, Karima.
Thank you so much for having me,
Hey, it is an
Mike.
honor
I
to have you on
appreciate
the
you.
show. Thank
Yes,
you so much. All right, so let's start getting into it. I know your
yes,
path
let's
has
dive right
included, yeah,
in.
let's do it. You're an athlete, an educator, now a school administrator, and a wellness advocate. What were some of the most defining moments that helped to shape who you are today?
Of course, first being an athlete, right? Athletes, the path of an athlete is one that teaches us so much about discipline, resilience, and the power of pushing through. So that's really where my first incident of like coming full circle with this journey of love for self. And then being an educator for 22 years, I graduated from TCNJ with a degree in math education and went right into the trenches with the students and making deep impact from a mentorship aspect. But the real transformation, as you know, you kind of read my bio and I'm laughing about it. I'm like, wow, as I listen to you talk, it is really come through my own battles with mental health, facing the anxiety, the depression, and the suicidal thoughts. I basically, this became my purpose once I realized that it's a lot more to life than just the accomplishments that we have.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm with you there. There's no question about it. And, we
Yes.
started getting into those health challenges, and it's come at different points in your life. How did all of those experiences change your perspective on wellness and purpose in life?
Yeah, so I've had a few bouts, in hospitals. It was kind of like a thing. It became a thing, and I wanted it to stop being a thing. I had medical issues, and then my medical issues translated into mental health issues, plus relationship issues. Where you just given so much of yourself to everything outside of you. And it was my last hospital stay back in 2021, and I was mentally instituted for 7 days where that was the turning point. That was the point where I said, I am not going to end up here again. And that was my catalyst. I think sometimes when we get to our lowest point in the darkest point in life, that's when somehow purpose becomes your mission, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really nicely said.
Yeah.
You wrote this book. It's called The Temples Are Sacred, and So Are You. And it's a
Yes.
guide to help others to honor themselves and reclaim their self-worth. Why did you decide that you wanted to write this book?
Yeah. So I'll give you the exact story. While in the hospital, right?
Hmm.
I had a moment where naturally my whole life flashes before my eyes, because you're in a moment where you don't know, I don't know if I'm going to come out. And with that, I reflected back to my 12-year-old self. I could literally see her across from me. And she's like angry because the 38-year-old at that time wished that somebody at that 12-year-old self would have told her the truth about life. And during that divine moment, it was like, well, you have to tell him. And I'm like, well, me? It's just like, who, me? Yes, you. What am I going to tell him? And the divine just said the truth. And that's where the book got birthed. It was just, what the one phrase that came through was like, your body is a temple, and most people think of that in a religious setting, but no, I'm meaning your physical vessel that you wake up to every single day. That is your temple. And so I took the word temples and I used it as an acronym, and I created 7 core principles that help the individual navigate their love for self on a daily basis. And I started writing while in the hospital. And since I left, which was October 1st of 2021, I've been on a mission, a hardcore mission ever since.
Wow, that is cool. So
Yeah.
this temples method, this stands for truth, exercise, meditate,
Hmm.
protect, love,
Yep.
eat to
Hmm.
live, and speak your truth, right? So this is
Absolutely.
this framework that enables people to transform their mental, their
Correct.
physical, and their spiritual health. So,
Yes.
I mean, okay, that's the framework. What do I do with this?
Yeah. So when people have the luxury of joining my program or giving me the opportunity to speak, then I dive deep into what does that all entail. So let's start with the T. The T is the truth. The truth is you have to know who you are from your core, like from the time that you're 0 to 7 years old. That's where the trauma begins. That's who frames the individual that you are as an adult. I think most people don't know that adults are mostly 8-year-old children who've never dealt with their unhealed trauma from the time that they were that young. So when you think of people who are angry all the time, or think of people who are anxious all the time, or you got to go back to when it first happened in order to heal it. So I start at the root. In order to start this healing journey, you got to get to the root of who you are. So then once we find out what the root is, now the rest of the letters is all about how to then navigate and heal that by movement, which is the second letter, E, exercise and emotional regulation. Trauma, the only way trauma gets out of the body is through movement. You have to physically move, you have to breathe it out, you have to just do somatic breath work, all these different strategies that I put in place that, by the end of continuously to move your body with an intention of moving stored trauma, you start to move right along. And the next is meditation, and you got to quiet the mind, the negative thoughts. We have about 80 to 90,000 thoughts per day, and out of that 80 to 90, about 60 to 70% are negative. So how do you transform the negative thoughts? You have to be intentional, and the only way to be intentional is to hone the practice of meditation and quieting the mind. And I learned how to do that over some time. It took me some years to learn how to gain control over the mind. And then once you master the mind, then you start to protect it. You got to protect it. So if I'm a person battling depression, it makes no sense for me to oversaturate my mind or watch or read or participate in things that continuously perpetuate depression, right? That's the biggest thing I teach, is that you have to protect your mind. Not only your mind, you got to protect your body, and then you got to protect your energy. One thing I realized is once I got out of the hospital, I couldn't be around the same people. You gotta shift your environment if you want to stay, in a positive mindset. So I had to be very picky and choosy with the people I surrounded myself with. And then we get into the love work. So Most people think, oh, I love myself. I get my hair done, nails done, everything did. I get the fresh cut, all of that. I got my clothes on and all of that. But who are you without that? Who are you without the external validation? So I teach what it means to have the internal validation. So we get into what that looks like, which is affirmations, that's journaling, that's, um, learning studying you. I like to say, go on dates with yourself and, being okay with being alone. That's what most people are afraid of. I was that person. And then we get into the second E, which I drew the connection between how you eat and how you feel. So I became plant based. And since I became plant based, my negative thoughts have drastically, when I say drastically, decreased. I went from being anxious and depressed and crying every day for 2 months to going plant based, raw, and just becoming like a beam of light. Like it just transformed me. I just stopped eating a lot of toxic processed foods. And then the last S, which was smile, speak, and surround. So I say smile because there was a time where I lost this smile. Okay. And it wasn't until somebody said to me, Karima, I missed your smile. And I'm like, you missed it? Wait, where did it go? Here I am thinking I'm smiling. I'm thinking I'm being my full authentic self. And they're saying, yeah, I'm glad it's back. And I'm like, wow. So one, that told me my smile was important, not only to me, but to others. They noticed that it was something that brightened their day. And the second thing that it taught me was that I will never allow life circumstances to rob me of it ever again. I don't care what is going on in my life. This right here, this smile that you see on my face right now is what is always going to come through. And that's my business card. You meet me, you're gonna meet my smile before you even meet my name, right? Most people I get every single day. You have a nice smile. Strangers in the street, thank you so much, because I know it's a gift now. So I say your smile is a gift. And then speaking your truth, like I've been on a journey of speaking my truth ever since. I've been totally transparent. I think that's what gets me to get the reach that I have, because the minute I tell my students and my kids that, yeah, I've been in a mental institution for 7 days and I don't want you to end up there, they're like, I have undivided attention. Phones drop, everything. They just locked in, because now somebody's being really vulnerable, authentic, and they're not used to that from us, right? They're like, oh, you're just my boss, or oh, you're just my counselor, or oh, you're just my professor. No, I'm just your unconditionally loving mentor who's going to keep it all the way 100 with you. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything.
Yeah.
And I think I went the whole life being unscathed, and that was kind of the issue. So
Yeah.
I said a lot just now.
There's a lot of power in that vulnerability. I like that authenticity. I think it's a beautiful thing. So give me an example. What is a daily practice that the students listening can use in order to stay grounded and stay balanced?
Yeah, so the very first thing is when they first wake up, before they are rushing to class or, you know, ready to start their day, I want them to ground themselves before they even leave. So that whatever that looks like for them, I would like it to be a form of quieting the mind and meditating, um, journaling, affirmations. If they could start their day like that, it truly sets the tone for the kind of day that they want to have. Okay. Then throughout the day, they just want to be intentional about protecting their peace and protecting their energy. Again, what I alluded to earlier was surrounding themselves with positive and like-minded people. And then the last piece is to then close out the day the same way that they started it, with like stream of consciousness dumping, which is writing down everything from the day and just not allowing the negative events that may have occurred to carry over into the next day. So that is how, and the biggest thing is time management, because I know they have a lot on their plate. They got a lot going on. They want to be extremely imperative for them to manage their time. And I think if they could wake up a little bit earlier, and be intentional about waking up early, a little bit earlier, they can prioritize and organize their day. so that they don't start to feel the overwhelm, burnout stress that college students tend to face.
All right. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, you keep referring to treating your body like a temple. What exactly does that mean, especially when we're talking to college students where there's so much social pressure on them and the distractions, like on social media and everywhere else, they're very high.
Yes. So when I always bring up the word temple, I always ask them, what is a temple to you? And I just say in a literal sense, like just think about a temple, right? When you go to a temple, what are some characteristics of a temple? So they throw out respect, they throw out peace, they throw out, um, prayer, or they throw out all these different words to describe a temple. And
Mhm.
I said, now I want you to put a I am in front of that. So I flip it on them. I am respectful, right? I am at peace. I am the things that we associate with the temple. So when you operate from that mindset every single day, that means I say, do you behave differently when you go inside a temple? Everybody's like, yes, you do, right? Why don't you treat yourself that way?
Mhm.
So that's all it is. It's just to get you to flip the narrative and look at yourself as sacred. Look at yourself as something to be worshiped, something to be honored, something to be respected. Once you have on that mindset, then every single decision that you make, you'll make it in a way as if you are operating inside of a temple.
Mm,
So,
I like that. That's really good. I think we can be our own worst critic, right, in our
yes,
heads. And
1000%.
so I think that definitely resonates with me. Yeah, temples are sacred. That focuses on helping people to develop healthy boundaries. So,
Yes,
what does setting a boundary actually look like in real life?
yes. In real life, a boundary for me is first sitting with what it is that you want to express, right? What is uncomfortable for you. Then when you sit with that, you must make sure your emotions are regulated, because if you go in setting a boundary with high intense energy, the chances of that boundary being honored is not good, right? So you have to go in with a loving mindset and an assertive mindset to say, these are the things that are making me uncomfortable. And these are the things I want you to either stop doing or how I prefer you do them. That's, you have to be clear and assertive. Clear and assertive. You set the boundary with whoever the individual is. And after you set that boundary, the one thing we have a problem with is worrying about how someone's going to take it. And my job is to free you from thinking that you have to care or worry about how they respond. It's not for you to worry about how they respond. Your only responsibility is to speak your truth, to share it in a loving way. And however they respond is on them, but just make sure you stand firm in it. So that's the proper way to set a boundary. So do it within love. Don't do it with high emotion, and to speak it with truth, speak it with assertion, and then let it be what it is.
Mm. Okay, that's really good advice. Now,
Yes.
a lot of people who are listening, we are people pleasers.
Oh,
We are
yes.
people that can do just about everything and want to be involved in everything on campus. So
Yes.
many of the students who are listening, they just struggle to say no. How can we learn to honor ourselves while also at the same time maintaining healthy relationships with all the people around us?
Yes. So I think what I want them to look at it as, a no means a yes to themselves,
Mm.
right? You're saying yes to yourself when you honor that no. If you are tired, if you are burnt out, if you are not feeling well, why are you saying no to yourself by saying yes to somebody else? So I think if we flip that narrative and say, it's not a no, right? It's really a yes to me. That's it right there, is saying yes to myself.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be really helpful, I know, for the college students because they're all burnt out. I'll tell you right
Yeah,
now. They're not getting
1000%.
enough sleep. That's number
Yep.
one. And they're
Right.
just so burnt out. I mean, so many of them, you can see it in their faces, and you're like, what is going on? You are
Yeah.
not sleeping. Like, I can tell right away.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
most of it is a lack of balance and a lack of
yeah.
time management.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you
Mhm.
also talked about the fact that you lacked mentorship when you were growing up. Why do
Correct.
you think that mentorship is so critical for young students? And how can college students seek out those mentors or maybe even become mentors themselves later in life?
Yes, it's extremely critical. I think, especially in your adolescence and going up to your early college years, I know we're seeking guidance. And who is it going to come from other than someone who has have these lived experiences that can prevent us from making the same bad choices or make same mistakes that we have made in the past. And I think too often, my experience, I felt sheltered. No one talked about the walls I was going to hit. So when I hit those walls, I didn't know how to get over them. So now I'm in a proactive space where I'm saying, as your mentor, I'm going to tell you what the wall is that's going to come. And then when you hit that wall, I'm actually going to also help you be the person to help you get over it. So then it's each one teach one. After I do that, I help you get over. Your responsibilities help somebody else get over. So you look for those mentors or those people that you first admire. Look for someone that you admire, someone you respect, and ask them to guide you. And then once you got the guidance and that person has helped you tremendously, your job is to give back.
That's
Yeah.
going to be really helpful for our listeners. I know so many of them, when they're looking for advice, they'll look to another college student, somebody same age, same life experiences, and they're going to
Yeah.
them for advice. And I'm
Yeah.
like, there's tons of people out there that have been there who have done that, have real lived experiences in the real world, and they're waiting for you to just ask them. And
Correct.
so, you really got to put yourself out there. And I know that can be intimidating. I get
Yes.
that. But I tell you what, I mean, people who have been there and done that and they have a little bit of life experience, what they really want is to give back. They really want to see other people become successful. And if they
Correct.
can help you to shortcut that, they're happy to do it. It doesn't
Absolutely.
cost them really anything other than maybe a few minutes out of their day. It's really not a big deal for them.
Correct.
So definitely seek those mentors out. I think that's important.
Yes. 1000%.
hmm Now, I also wanted to talk to you about some healthy ways that the college students can express their emotions because they do
Yes.
have emotions that need to get out. How can they
Mhm.
do that and also stay focused on their goals in college?
Yeah, so one thing I alluded to earlier, it's movement, right?
hmm
Emotions come out through movement. So I
Okay.
know, for example, whenever I'm feeling, extremely anxious or, sad or whatever, I go work out. And when I work out, that's when the positive hormones are typically released and you feel so much better afterwards.
hmm
Another thing, especially with anger, just go out in a safe place and scream at the top of your lungs. Just scream, just keep screaming, just let it out, whatever you got to do. Take a boxing class, get that frustration out. Everything has to, get punched out through force. Do one of those glass breaking, room breaking classes. What do they call them? The breaking rooms.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get energy out. But everything is energy and motion. So emotions is energy and motion. It is. It's just energy, and it needs to come out. So find a way to release their energy. Tears, crying. I know we don't like to cry, but crying is the best thing that you could do. That's why we have them. It's
Yep.
meant to release emotion.
Yep.
So you gotta release the energy that's in motion.
Yeah, for me, it's also working out every morning. I just put it all out there and then I'm ready to start my day fresh. So that works out really, really well for me. And it did in college too. I just kept doing it
Yeah.
as an adult. So that worked out really well. And you're right about just getting out those emotions. I've seen those cars that they try to demolish on campus. They bring out some some vehicle that looks pretty sad. And then they give out these like sledgehammers to students
Yeah.
and they're like, for $1, we'll raise money for it a charity, but you get 3 shots on this car. And it's
Exactly.
just the students, especially this time of year where it's finals and the pressure is
Exactly.
on. I'm
And it feels
telling you, that
amazing.
is the thing right there. You just
Exactly.
get it all out. It's great.
Awesome. So one of the best things once you realize it's just energy and motion,
Yeah,
now it's like, okay, let me move it then.
yeah.
Right? Let me move it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Now, I tell you what, I love to eat really good food, and I'm really jealous where you're at because you've got so much good food in
So
your
much.
neighborhood. I mean, it's just like endless.
It's
I mean,
insane.
I'm so jealous because I'm a guy, I was born, in New York City, in Manhattan, Mount Sinai Hospital. So I know the good food that's in your area. I mean, I'm
Yep.
jealous. And I get to be in New York City this summer. I'm going back to visit family, so I'm super excited about that. Where
Yep.
should I go for a great meal in that Jersey City area these days?
Yes. So there's plenty of places that you could dive in. If you're looking for fine dining, I love a spot right on the water called Local Eatery and Bar. They have some good options. They have plant-based options too.
Oh, good.
Um, Fire and Oak is a good place, also downtown Jersey City.
Hmm.
If you're looking for like a low-key taco spot, they got plenty of taquerias. There's one on Erie Street, and it's right across from an ice cream parlor. So, so good. There's
Tacos and
like
ice cream.
lines
What's
out the
up?
door. Yeah, it's like lines out the door on the weekends on both sides of the street. It's pretty amazing. Tony Baloney's also downtown. Best pizza. They have an eggplant um, meatball pizza. It's amazing. Um,
Oof.
yeah, and let's see. This is an abundance. There is an abundance of food. There's a real food kitchen that's really really good. And what else? There's just so many. I could write a long list, but I'm trying to tell you, they're all really really
Well, we
good.
can hang out anytime. Anytime you're talking
Yes,
about tacos and ice cream and pizza. Oh my God, I miss the pizza in the Northeast so much. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and they have this thing that they call pizza, but it's not pizza. It's an imposter. You and I know what
we
good
know what
pizza
pizza
is,
is.
okay? You grow up in Manhattan and Jersey City,
Yes,
you know good pizza because it's
yes,
good. You just know it right away. I
absolutely.
mean, it's, and then I go down south and I'm like, all right. You guys have
Yeah,
no idea what you're doing. Forget it.
please stop.
Let's forget it.
Just stop. Just stop it
Just
already.
stop what you're doing because it's all wrong.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, this has been a lot of fun. If our listeners, if they want to bring you in to speak on their college campus, where should they go
Yes.
to connect with you and get all of the resources they need?
Yes. So LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me directly. Karima McKenzie. That's the best way. And my email, Karima at templeofyou.co. C-O. And lastly, you can also reach me at templesaresacred.com/college students as well. All those three are very, very good to reach me, but directly is LinkedIn and via email.
That is perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's exactly where I connected with Karima on LinkedIn. She got back to me
Yes.
right away. So that is the
Yes.
place. Karima McKenzie, thank you so much for
Yes.
spending some time with us on the show today. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Karima, I want you to like and I want you to share this interview all over social media. She wants to get the words out to college students just like you. So please go
Yes.
ahead and share that. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.